Folks, we begin the 16th letter. This letter, like many of the letters, has to do about charitable giving. And it's a very powerful message that goes far and above and beyond just charitable giving, as we will see. The Alter Rebbe begins his letter, as many letters, Ahuvai achai verei asher kinafshi. Very heartfelt, beautiful words. My beloved, my brethren, and friends who are to me like my own soul. As actually we will see that, how that comes across. Alter Rebbe continues and says that the hardships of these times are not hidden from me, and that the means for earning a livelihood have declined. Sounds like maybe something written today for many people who are challenged in this day. So knowing that things have faltered, and there are those that are without a provider at all, no work available, not for the husband, not for the wife, and literally people are borrowing in order to eat. May God show them compassion and speedily bring them a respite from their challenges and difficulties. Nonetheless, says the Alter Rebbe, they're not acting rightly for their own sake, for their own souls. As reports have come to me that they have closed their hand from their lifelong act of opening their hand and giving with a full hand and a generous eye to the vital necessities for those who are truly destitute, whose eyes are lifted unto us. So the Alter Rebbe is making reference over here to many Jewish people who had moved from Russia, Ukraine, and that area, to Eretz Yisrael, to the Holy Land. And at that time it was under the control of the Ottoman Empire. And destitute of destitute is what was going on there. That there was literally nothing to support people. It was so difficult. And that's why the Alter Rebbe set up a fund, Judaism.Chabad as it's called, a charitable fund to help those in the land of Israel. And this is what he was collecting for. Or he himself wasn't collecting, but those who were working in the fund on his behalf, collecting in order to give to those who were completely destitute. So let's continue with this thought. Says the Alter Rebbe, if we will not have pity on them, who will? Now, recall that the Alter Rebbe said at the beginning of the letter here that they are also going through great difficulties themselves. And in some instances, there's no work for the husband or the wife. And they even have to borrow money. So we're talking about something very powerful idea here that we may not all be so comfortable with, but let's take it. Let's go with it. So now he's going to share a teachings that's based on a verse in Vayikra, in Leviticus, in Parshas Kedeshim, that says, V'chai achicha imach, which means that your brother may live with you. What does that mean exactly, that your brother may live with you? So the sages in the Talmud, based on this, make a ruling that one's own life takes precedence over another. And the example that they use is that if you're in the desert with a friend and you have a pitcher of water. You have 1 cup, one flask, 1 bottle of water, whatever you want to use, right? You've got one. And it's enough for you to survive. This is a very hypothetical, so it's about the parameters of the law, right? That you have enough for you to survive. But if you share it with your friend, both of you won't survive. Again, how do you know that? That's irrelevant to the law. The application of the law is a different story, but to the actual law itself, the point over here is that if we share it, we both die. If I drink it, I live. If you drink it, you live. It's the question of who gets to drink it. Who gets to drink it? The one who has possession. Why? Because chayecha koidmin, your life takes precedence over another. Says the Alter Rebbe based on this, and the sages, that's only when we're talking about when you need bread for children, firewood to keep you warm in the winter, and clothes to just also keep you warm. Then that all takes precedence, right? In other words, in an application of this law now, that your life takes precedence over another person's life. In other words, that if you have firewood and your neighbor doesn't, and you just have enough for yourself to keep yourself warm, then you take precedence. However, that's only when that's the discussion. If it's about fine apparel, or if it's about having fish and meat and other delicacies, right, where others don't have bread on the table, then the idea that your life takes precedence doesn't apply anymore. Because you're not on the same essential needs basis. You're not on the same level. As the Alter Rebbe concludes over here, as discussed in the Talmud in Nidorim. So what is the Talmud speaks about over there? Interesting case. There's a river that flows through community A and then flows through community B. So this concept of who takes precedence, what takes precedence, is the issue. So if the water that's coming through community A, it's enough water for that community to drink water and for their animals to have water, right? But it's enough for them, but then it's not going to be enough if they take the water from there, if they pump out the water and use it for themselves, right? River flow, whatever kind of, again, this is the concept, and obviously there's variations to this halacha, right? But if there's just enough for community A to get water, and community B is not going to get, because it's just enough for them to drink and for their animals to have. So community A gets precedence because it's coming through their community first. They don't have to split it with community B. If, however, community A has the river that comes through them, but they have other sources of water, well springs that they get drinking water for them and for their animals, right? And what do they need that water for? To wash clothes. To wash clothes. But then community B, they need it for drinking water. So what's the law? Community A doesn't have the rights to that water, because washing clothes is not vital necessity as drinking water is. So community B, if they have no other source of drinking water, of course that's the question at hand, they they get the water for their usage, for drinking water, for themselves, for animals, and community A cannot touch that water. The same idea. What is this based on? It's based on the verse Parshas Kedeshim as Chai Achicha Imach, that your brother will live with you. With you, but secondary to you? When is your brother or another community secondary to you? When the issue at hand is of equal importance or equal significance or equal need. But if the needs are different, your needs are for fine apparel, to have beautiful, nice clothes for Shabbos, and to have fish and meat for Shabbos. Well, this person doesn't have bread to give their children to eat. So you're not equal anymore. That's the discussion. Now, where that will take us, stay tuned for more. We're just in the middle of a thought. The Alter Rebbe will take this and actually make more arguments about why a person should be giving when seemingly, it's difficult, very difficult to give, as in this situation over here. Very powerful idea. All right, folks, as I've mentioned recently, don't ask questions until it's time to ask questions. First of all, a lot of things might be answered already when we ask a question early on. And secondly, I lose the question on the post on Facebook. So now's a good time to ask. A reminder, today is TRC at 4:30. For those who are part of TRC. Anna, why not to share the cup of drinking and other necessity water and anything else among all? My brother will get half of mine. First of all, Anna, thank you for the question. So why not share? So first of all, we're talking about what the law is and what you're obliged to do, not what your feelings are, right? So for example, it's a big question. Imagine Reuven and Shimon are in the desert together, right? And they have one cup. And again, this is very theoretical, because how would you know is a different question, but let's leave that out of the equation for the moment. This is enough for Reuven to survive. If he gives half of it to Shimon, what is he in effect doing? What's he in effect doing? Killing himself, committing suicide. That's a big question. Can you do that? Right? So it's actually a debate. Not so simple. That answer, by the way. Not so simple, that answer. In other words, by law, am I obliged to keep the water, or I can keep the water? So let us just take it for right now, is that I'm not obliged to share the water because it's enough for me to survive and not for anybody else, and not for two people to survive, right? Again, it's highly theoretical, but we see the application of it is not so theoretical. If a stream of water is going through one community and a second community, and what the result of that is, that's not theoretical at all, right? I saw another question over here. So yes, so Anna, so it's a big discussion in the Talmud. We're not going to go in that direction right now because the Alter Rebbe is trying to inspire us in the idea of what it means to give even under very difficult circumstances. John, Kel Chabad remains very active in Eretz Yisrael today. Should our tzedakah or part of that should be a worthwhile organization, or should we remain closer to home? Very good question. So yeah, definitely there is an idea of giving to in the land of Israel. Excellent question, John. Sorry, 1 second. So yes, there is an idea of giving into the land of Israel, and Kollel Chabad. After all, it is the oldest charity in the land of Israel since the 1700s. That was instituted by the Alter Rebbe. So yes, there is an idea of that, or other important institutions. Absolutely. Thank you, Eileen. If a person finds it difficult to take because they give selflessly to others, how do we learn to put themselves? How do they learn to put themselves first? Well, maybe based on this. Why are you putting yourself first? If you have necessities, if you, let's put it this way, you know what this actually can even mean for yourself. You could get by with very little. You can open up a can of tuna for you and to eat dinner, and you're okay with that. But your neighbor, you want to make your neighbor, you want to give them the best of the best, right? You want to give them the best of the best. You could be satisfied with minimal. And, so do you take precedence? It's an attitude here, I think, that the Alter Rebbe is trying to give to us, that we can... we're going to learn more about that. Thank you, Eileen. Very good question. We're going to deal more on that in a forthcoming class. Davida, during the Holocaust, my father helped others first. If he had food, he gave it to others first. Was that the right thing to put others before him? Again, listen, he survived, thank God, right? So, did he do the right thing? I guess so. I guess he did the right thing. The fact is, he did survive, right? So, and there's other instances like that too, that people, again, remember, it's very theoretical. Do you know how far it is? You're going to have one flask of water that's going to be enough, how long it's going to be enough for you, and that you're going to be able to get to somewhere else to get more water, and so on and so forth. So again, in practice is different than the theory. We need to understand the theory of it, so then we could put it into practice. But your father did the right thing. The fact is, he survived. Yeah, amazing man. Darren, being less necessity and giving more, some, and giving some a sin. Being less necessity, meaning needing less. Right. Yeah, absolutely. That's a good thing. I'm not certain if I got that 100% clear, what your question or what your question was, Darren. Okay. Rachel, can charity be connected with the ultimate goal of preservation of life? Of course, it is preservation of life. Absolutely. That's the idea of it. That is the idea of charity. One of the ideas is preservation of life, and that's what we're discussing over here. Absolutely. Michael, please share.
Would this also apply if there is in a village two yeshivas, and the one yeshiva has not enough money to provide a good education, and when the other yeshiva would share too much money with them, their education they can provide their kids would also get only average. Would this also be applied, that you have to save one good yeshiva instead of to have two average yeshivas, because then the quality has to survive, like Judaism
Right.
has to get put to the next generation.
That's a very good question. That's a very good question. I don't know if I have the answer to that. Excellent question. What would that mean here? I'm not 100% certain. I don't know. I'd have to think about it. Because here we're talking about chai achicha yimach, and physical needs, and you're talking about spiritual needs, and you're talking about that the quality of one institution, one yeshiva would be brought down in order to help the other. So definitely there's the concept of being there and helping another, for sure. Should that be at the loss of yours? That I'm not certain. But definitely there needs to be that concept. There's a story in the 40s, not in the 40s. The previous Rebbe came in 1942. The previous Rebbe came in 1940 to America, and those were difficult times, war times, and there was a yeshiva that had been here already for a long time in New York, Mir Yeshiva, and they were holding by foreclosure. And the previous Rebbe got wind of this, and unsolicited brought a huge amount of money. I don't know if we know the amount, but a huge amount of money in the 40s. I don't know exactly what that was, and gave it, and kind of put himself in a difficult position, because that was monies in order to buy an institution for himself. An institution for himself, and it was given a messenger brought it to one of the secretary, something brought it, and saying that here it's being lent, this money it's being lent, and it's monies that are of essential need in order to be able to ultimately is to purchase 770 itself, where the world headquarters of Chabad is. But at that moment there was a greater need, and he put himself into a position where put himself in a position to help another. So it's a good question. Exactly what the parameter of that is Anna. So there's a Chabad center with lots of money, should help out others. Centers, yes. So there's a lot of Chabad centers are like that. That would help out others, and that's a real testament of what it means to be giving, is to be able to help out others, and even though it's not yours, that's a real Alan, did you want to share something with us? Please share with us, Alan. Can't hear you.
Happy birthday. I'm sorry. Yeah, I've got me on mute now. Yeah. It is my Yom Clubhouse Sameach Day.
Oh. Okay. Happy birthday.
But in any case, the term pikuach nefesh, you would think it would be pikuach guf,
Well, pikuach nefesh means, nefesh is a term that is like the lowest level of the soul that connects with the body. So it's about and the biological kind of functions of the body that the soul gives vitality to. So it is that lowest dimension of body and soul connection. And don't forget, for life you need body and soul connection, of course, right?
Yeah, but you would think that pikuach, is that if you're dealing with the sanctity of life, that it would be pikuach kuf. I understand, but the point is that it's pikuach nefesh is because the true life really is in the nefesh,
Right.
But it's interesting language,
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Well, bringing out about, in other words, what is life? Life is the fusion of body and soul. So that dimension that is that basic dimension, the basic fusion of body and soul is the nefesh level that gives the biological vitality to the body to fulfill its functions. Yeah, so it does bring out that idea. But yeah, absolutely. So happy birthday till 120, Alan. You should be gesund and well, and continue.
Well, it's not my birthday; it's my club anniversary.
Oh, you mean clubhouse anniversary? What do you mean, like a year of being a clubhouser?
Yeah, embarrassingly, I've been here for a year
Ha
now.
ha ha. All right, so for 120 more years.
Okay, thank you.
It's almost like you're getting a chip from AA. 1 year chip. All right. Davida, does this also pertain to giving up one's life and putting someone's life before yours? So again, that's a discussion over here. If you're in the desert and you have one bottle of water, enough to sustain your life. So the question is, if you're giving it to someone else, are you allowed to do that, or is that prohibited to do because you're taking your life, or are you allowed to do that? And so it's a big discussion. It's not so simple, and there's different angles and perspectives on that, which is not the conversation here, but definitely an important a discussion. So so the essential idea of giving that bottle of water is putting your life, your life takes precedence over someone else's life. So we're talking about life itself. Now the question is, can you go beyond that or not? So that again is a discussion. Can you be ready to give up your life and give that bottle of water? So that's not so simple, and it's a discussion. All right, beautiful. All right, folks, amazing, all of you. Thank you for being here. And
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank
you. All right, Rabbi Ronnie Fine coming to you from Chabad Zichron Kadesh in Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you, Tanya. Don't forget, we have today Rambam now, 4:30 TRC, and tonight my wife gives a class for women at 7:30. Join, ladies, join. Have a wonderful day. God bless you all.